Hey Ed, welcome back to another episode of Rankum. We're talking about A24 movies. I put it on the poll a few times. It finally fell in a place where people wanted to either wanted to get it off the polls or just wanted to get it out there because they didn't like anything else. But before I do that, I'm going to bring back something that I did do once before, but I'm going to start doing it again. I'm going to reveal what the top 5 picks for last week's topic that you voted on in the poll on the page. So last week we did Keanu Reeves movies, and on the Facebook poll, this is the top 5 that you decided on. John Wick was number 1, Matrix was 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was 3, Speed was 4, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was 5. So that's kind of expected with the way that I thought the poll was going to go with that one, but
John Wick is the worst in the series, in my opinion. I mean, it's good, but it should be above The Matrix.
I mean, it's what the people on the poll want.
Yeah.
But anyway, but with that, and I probably should have introduced my panel before I went into that, but never mind. But I've got Scott Harvey here. Scott, how's it going?
Going good. I've got my A24 hat on. I'm ready to go. Obviously, this topic has circulated around a little bit. Aaron and I did a YLS a while ago on this. We got the cool world bracket and the cool guy group or whatever that's going on right now of A24 movies. So it seems like this topic is always around, and I'm happy about that because it's they've made plenty of great films, a lot of my favorites over the last decade or so. So this should be a good list.
And also we've got Aaron. Aaron, how's it going?
Good. I'm here to talk about this A24 thing finally. Get it off my chest. I've been wanting to talk about these movies for a while, and I don't know if anybody knows, but I like A24. So, yeah, I'm here to talk about that.
But yeah, how the show works is we're each going to go around the panel and sort of nominate a movie we think belongs on a top 12 list. And then there has to get at least 2 out of 3 yeses. At least one other yes apart from the person that nominated it. So, because the person that nominates it, that's automatically a yes. But yeah, there has to get at least. But with that being said, at the end we ranked them, but we'll get to that when we get to the end. Scott, I'll get you to throw out a movie first.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and start at the top of my personal list. I'll just go ahead and get my favorite A24 movie out there so we can just hopefully get that one on the list and I can move on and be a little more composed for the rest of the time. But my favorite A24 movie, the first one I want to nominate is The Florida Project. This is a Sean Baker movie from 2017. I really love the way that it looks at sort of an underrepresented community in terms of these people who are living, basically week to week, even day to day in this motel on the edge of Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And specifically, he tells the story through the eyes of this child, Mooney, played by Brooklyn Prince. And so you get a lot of emotional highs and lows in the movie. You kind of see things in a very simple, straightforward, clear-eyed way in the way that children do. And so I think that was a really inventive way to tell the story. It's visually great to look at. Willem Dafoe gives a great performance as the owner of the motel. And it's just a great, emotional, heartfelt, it kind of sounds depressing if I'm describing it, but there are plenty of sort of uplifting, hopeful moments in it as well. So it's one of my favorite films of all time, and it's my favorite A24 film. So I'd like to throw it out there.
Aaron, what do you say about The Florida Project?
Yeah, it's a definite yes from me. This is one that I've just had to revisit because it was like a lot of A24 movies or movies in general. Like sometimes the intended effect of it, like this movie is pretty irritating at points. The characters, to me at least, and like kind of their lack of responsibility, especially. I wasn't irritated towards the children, obviously, but the adult characters and just like being familiar with this as a social worker doing home visits, obviously not in Michigan, and it's different than Florida, yet not that different. It's just a different backdrop. I didn't have Disney World behind me when I was doing them in Flint. We just had like the burnt down power plant or whatever. So, but I mean, this is like a very, very authentic movie, but also it's still enjoyable at the same point, or entertaining, however you want to put it. So, and Willem Dafoe, I mean, got robbed of an Oscar here, and it resulted in me going back and watching a bunch of Willem Dafoe movies, which has been great. Just about everything I've watched by him, from the one where he was Heaven's Gate or whatever, here to the one where he plays Van Gogh, whichever.
At Eternity's Gate.
Yeah, At Eternity's Gate. Sorry, and even Antichrist, another one that's misjudged, but not an A24 movie, but could be an A24 movie if they would have put A24 before it, frankly. But anyways, yes to Florida Project. Good choice.
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen. This is one I knew that was probably going to come up. I tried to find it somewhere, but I just had no luck finding it anywhere. So, but Aaron, what is the first one you're going to bring up?
So I'll stick with 2017 for my first, because 2017 is one of my favorite years of A24, but favorite years of A24. I felt like they were really experimental during this year, and one that I think has really started to garner more and more acclaim as we've gone on. I hope, at least, and I think it is actually more made for at-home viewing than a theater, as long as you have a good sound system, is a Ghost Story with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, every hipster's dream girl. And basically, this is a story that kind of treats time as a little bit less linear than most movies, I guess you could put it. And I don't want to really spoil too much for people, because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen this or know it, just for the pie eating scene, which, while very, very pretentious, like many A24 movies, I guess you could say that. I think that if you've gone through a really heavy grieving process and you're understanding the space they're trying to put you into there, it's quite uncomfortable, that scene. And this isn't a movie you can have your phone out for or anything like that. It's an hour and a half, feels like 3.5 hours, and I mean that in a good way, frankly, because of how much they fit into this movie, how much is said without any dialogue. And I love the main song. If the main song annoys you, you're going to hate this movie, though. So, because they play it a lot. But I like the song. So, yeah, A Ghost Story is definitely amongst my top 12. Easy.
Yeah, this is another one that I just haven't seen, so it's all on you, Scott. Does it make the list?
So, confession time. This is actually one of the few big ones that I haven't seen either. But I'm gonna say yes. It's early in the show. I know people love this movie. I think I would really like it from what I know about it. I really do need to watch it. I didn't even think about that I probably should have watched it in preparation for this, but it's early. I'm not going to be ruthless or anything yet, so I will say yes.
Hopefully, I didn't spoil that. I didn't spoil the pie scene. I figure you've heard that mentioned. Yes. But like a lot of classic or I won't say this is a classic movie since it's very new, but classic scenes in classic movies. Not saying this is one, but once they kind of get into the public sphere, they kind of get parodied, and it's just like, well, if you're going to be like, oh, this is a movie and this is ridiculous, there's a lot of movies that you're going to be prevented from liking. So this is definitely one you got to be patient for. It's not for everybody, and I don't know what movie is, but this isn't it. But I do think you'd like it, Scott.
Yeah, I'm sure I would.
Yeah. But it's on to me, and the first one I'm going to bring up is Midsommar. This is, it may be very recent, but it's one that that I went in seeing. So I don't know what I'm going to feel like, because I'm one of the few people that really did not like Hereditary that came before this. So I was like, it's the same director. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. I ended up really loving this, and I mean, how can you hate Florence Pugh? Really, she's amazing. But this is just so creepy, and just one of those ones, like, it gives you the feel of what it's like to be involved with a cult. And it's just one of those ones which I really enjoyed, and I recently saw the director's cut, and it actually made it better for me. So,
Yeah.
Scott, what do you say about Midsommar?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. This actually probably would have been the next one that I said. I love Midsommar. I've seen it 4 times, I think. I've seen the director's cut. Even though it is a disturbing movie, like you said, it's very rewatchable in my opinion because it's so good. And I think, yeah, the horror stuff is really effective, and also sort of the commentary on relationships and the way that it portrays this relationship that probably should have broken up a long time ago, and what sort of the effects of what happens when these people stay together long after they should have stayed together. I think that's what takes it to a whole nother level for me, that it's not just like an interesting genre movie. It has like some layers to it as well. And then, yeah, technically it's great. The visuals are amazing. And Florence Pugh, yeah, she should have gotten an Oscar nomination. She should have been double nominated last year. Let's put it that way. She did get the supporting actress, but she should have gotten Best Actress for this as well. This might even be the better of those performances. I think her emotional range that she shows is amazing. So absolutely, yes.
I mean, I would argue she should have been triple nominated, but she was really great in fighting with my
Yeah, I don't know nomination worthy, but sure, why not? Let's just get every movie.
But with that, Scott, what is the next one? Aaron, what would you say about
Oh,
Midsummer?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorites, if not my favorite. If not my favorite A24 movie ever. I saw it in theaters about 4 or 5 times. I loved all the performances, especially actually I really like Jack Rayner because of how much I hated him in the movie. So
Yeah.
I think he did a great job, especially coming off of Sing Street. For me, that's where I knew Jack Rayner from, so I was ready to love him in this movie. So like when he kind of turned on me real quick like that, and it's the visuals, it's very authentic to so many different things, from relationships to how it portrays psychedelics and things like that, which I think a lot of movies really, really botch. So it's very rewatchable. Definitely a yes. Yeah. Good choice.
Scott, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Sure. So I'm going to continue sort of getting maybe some of the big ones off of the board. So then we can kind of, maybe as we go on, dive into some of the deeper cuts a little bit. So the next one I'll nominate is Uncut Gems. This is obviously another 2019 film and one that was very talked about last year, talking about movies getting memed to death. This was kind of definitely an example of that, because Adam Sandler's character has so many memorable scenes and lines in the movie, but this is just a nonstop anxiety trip for, over 2 hours long. Like I love the sound design, the way that increases the tension, and it really just builds towards this amazing climax where you are really like on the edge of your seat. You're like, at your wit's end. And I think the way that it wraps up, some people may not be satisfied with it, but I think it's the only way that this story can end. And so therefore I think it's a very effective ending. And I think I am absolutely not an Adam Sandler fan at all, but I thought he was incredible. Again, should have been nominated. And I think the Safdie brothers really got the best out of him. They really knew how to harness his energy in this movie into something, pretty amazing. And so this movie is kind of another no-brainer for me that needs to be on the list.
Aaron, what do you say about Uncut Gems?
The only thing I disagree with there is him saying he's not an Adam Sandler fan, but we'll talk about Lil Nicky and the classic it is on another show. Yeah, this is a definite yes for me. First of all, I think the dialogue is what I fell in love with initially about this. There's just a few particular lines between Adam Sandler's character and Kevin Garnett in the movie where it's just talking particularly about my people, the Jews, and their love of basketball when they themselves cannot play very well in general. So it's just like an obsession that is true throughout my people, that like that movie had to be written by my people to have caught that. And I just really appreciated the authenticity of it. And a lot of people are like, oh, it was annoying. It was overwhelming. It was loud. It was obnoxious. It's like, yep, again, a movie where I think the intention of it often causes some people to say they didn't like the movie, but they may not like the experience they had, but that was the movie that was, I think, being presented to them. So yeah, this is another great one. I'm sure the other Safdie movie will be brought up, so I'll save the rest of what I have to say for the Safdies when that's brought up. But yeah, this is a yes.
But yeah, it's we've also been a yes for me. Like this is one of those movies which, when I saw the trailers, like I really didn't know what to expect because, like, and I mean it's been said so many times. Adam Sandler shines more when he's not doing comedic stuff these days.
Yeah.
Like when he goes into a dramas, like
And we see this new shitty movie he's coming out with because he didn't get the Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
He promised us.
He's following through.
Yeah, I hope everybody's happy.
I mean, Hubie Halloween. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It looks somewhat interesting. I mean, whether or not it's going to be his worst movie.
Does it look like Uncut Gems?
Well, yeah. No, I'm not saying it's going to be better than Uncut Gems. I'm just saying it might not be his absolute worst movie.
I know. But the internet thing there.
But with that being said, yeah, Uncut Gems was great. There's not much more I can say. It hasn't already been said on this. Aaron, what's the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right. Well, I might as well get this over with. I really hope I'm not going to be disappointed here. My absolute favorite A24 movie, the movie that caused me to fall in love with A24. When I saw this in a theater, I didn't see anything about it, hear anything about it. I had went through the worst breakup of my life the night before this. I went to see this movie with my mom. It's Colin Farrell, John C. Reilly, Rachel Weisz. It's The Lobster, Yorgos Lanthimos' masterpiece, The Lobster. It's an absolute black comedy to the fullest extent of both words, in my opinion. And comedy and tragedy are often next door neighbors, so a lot of the themes they're tackling this are kind of tragic or depressing, especially if you just went through a breakup the night before. Anyways, it's just a movie that is very, very weird. Some people really dislike, and I understand. The dialogue's weird. Everything about it's just all the way my kind of movie, though. I really responded strong to it. So The Lobster, I really hope it makes it. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset the rest of this time.
This is one that when I saw this movie for the first time last year, I think I saw it when The Favourite was coming out. It's I don't know what to expect, but I actually really do love this movie. I think it's great. It's easy. It's an easy yes for me. Like just the whole thing about finding love within a certain amount of time, or you become an animal, is weirdly interesting to me. But yeah. So Lobster is going to make this list. Scott, what would you have said about The Lobster?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad you went ahead and said yes, Malcolm. I wasn't going to say no, but this is not like if I was making my top 12, this would probably not be in my top 12. But I was going to say yes because I knew Aaron was going to have it. I knew it's his favorite, and I'm not going to be so cruel as to say
no. You gotta. I want this to be the true. It can't be my top 12.
Well, it's on. It's on there now, regardless of what I think. So, but I like the first half of the movie. I have a few more issues with the second half of the movie. I am a fan of, some of his other movies a little bit more, Yorgos Lanthimos, but it's on the list. So I'm glad for Aaron's sake that it made the list.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't have handled that well, but yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and also for me specifically, The Lobster is one that could drop down a lot once I see all the missing gaps in A24. Because, like as I said before, we went live. I've already seen 20 of the 96 movies A24 has done, so I've got a lot to still to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for now, that it's lucky that it just is still in my personal top 12 at the moment. So.
Good enough. That's fine. I made it.
But with that being said, it's up to me for my next one. I'm going to go through one that I was told by a certain Paul Oyama that I would not like this movie. I went to see it. I ended up liking this movie, and it's Under the Silver Lake. This is one that
I'll give it that.
Andrew Garfield just going crazy. The plot. It's been a while since I've seen it. I really should give this a rewatch at some stage, but basically, in short, like Andrew Garfield plays someone who sees a neighbor, then mysterious things happen in this complex. Then he goes on a quest to try and find this woman. I mean, Aaron would probably be able to explain this better than I can when I get round to it. But Scott, what do you say about Under the Silver Lake?
Yes, I say yes is what I say. This is in my top 10. I loved this movie. It's not necessarily like, considered an A24 classic or anything like that. It is a deeper cut that I was expecting maybe to come up a little bit later. But I think you got the right panel here because I know that both Aaron and I are big fans of this movie. But yeah, it's a wild movie. It's not for everyone. But I love the sort of David Lynch, Mulholland Drive feel to it. With the sort of this surreal odyssey in LA and Hollywood. It's beautifully shot, great music. I love the director, David Robert Mitchell. It Follows is another one of my favorite movies. So I was always interested to see what he was going to do after this. And then this movie kept kind of getting pushed back. It was in release hell. And then A24 kind of just quietly threw it on Amazon Prime because I think they knew that this movie was even amongst A24 fans, this is kind of for a limited subset of them, but I am within that limited subset. I love the movie. I've seen it a few times. I think it's very entertaining. It's funny. It's strange. And so some people would probably disagree that this one belongs on the list, unlike the other movies we've talked about so far, but they're not here. I'm here and I say yes.
But
Aaron, what do you say about Under the Silver Lake?
Yeah, I love this movie. As soon as I saw it, it was just like, yep, this is exactly what I like in a movie. It's just beautiful to look at, beautiful to think about. It's just kind of the internet conglomerated onto a movie in a lot of ways. There's I think a lot of rabbit holes you can go down that don't lead anywhere, and that's kind of the point of the movie.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought Andrew Garfield was great in it. I think that, this is a really fun movie that I hear more and more people are liking. So I think it has started to kind of get the audience to understand it. A24 itself didn't understand it, didn't want to really release it. So kind of delayed it and then released it VOD just out of nowhere. So,
and now David Robert Mitchell is doing a superhero movie for his next movie, which is going to be weird.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Scott, what is your next nomination?
All right. Well, we're all being so agreeable here. I'll just throw out another one that I think we're going to agree on, and that is Lady Bird. This is one of the probably best regarded A24 films. I don't know, maybe Aaron's going to give me a little flack for this one, it seems like. But no, I think this is a wonderful coming of age movie. I think A24 coming of age movies is one of the genres that they do the best. There are several others that we could certainly talk about. But I think Lady Bird is one of the best, if not the best. I think it has a great authenticity and specificity to how it tells the story. You can tell that this really came from Greta Gerwig's own experiences as a teenager in Sacramento. Saoirse Ronan gives an amazing performance, a slightly different performance maybe than what we're used to seeing from her, but very, 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 very believable. I love the parents, played by Tracy Letts and Laurie Metcalf. I think they both have individually great scenes. Like the airport scene is really great with the mom driving away. I love the scene where Tracy Letts and his son, Miguel, they are going into the same job interview together. I think that's a really sort of powerful scene. And it has a truth to it that I think anyone who has gone through an awkward stage in their growing up, which is probably all of us. If we're here, it's probably all of us. But but so I think it's a very relatable and heartfelt movie, and Greta Gerwig is one of the best out there, even after only 2 films that she's directed. So I nominate Lady Bird.
I think I just heard Cody Newberry yell all the way from America, no, no, please God, no. But he's not on the panel, so his vote doesn't matter. Aaron, what do you say about Lady Bird?
Well, this is going to be a Dear Diary moment because I kind of agree with Cody here. We're talking about my top 12 A24. This isn't going to scratch my top 20, actually. And I do really like it. Maybe this is a fact of me kind of. I've been watching a lot of Saoirse Ronan lately. Watched Brooklyn just recently for Christina's Loves movie match. Absolutely fantastic performance by Saoirse.
Yeah.
She hasn't really had any bad ones. Little Women. I mean, and Lady Bird is included in that. Laurie Metcalf, great. The scene with the son and the father going in for the job interview, amazing. This is just at some point we gotta make a few tough decisions here. There's just a few more than movies that I kind of want to see on this list over Lady Bird here. I'm just gonna make the tough call here and say no for me. I still really like the movie. That's gonna happen a lot though. So.
But yeah, Lady Bird is easily a yes for me. I love this movie, and this is one that like a lot of these A24 movies that like I'm saying yes to are ones that I probably wouldn't normally go to see if normally, but just because the trailers never really grabbed me. But like lately, I've been sort of going, yeah, I'll go see it. Like because it's one of those ones like I've come to the realization you can't take trailers as the representation of the movie. You actually got to go see the movie, and and I love Lady Bird. I think it's great. So yeah, it's making this list. But Aaron, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, so I'm kind of worried about whatever I bring up next now that I said no to Lady Bird.
I'm not vengeful.
So I'm going to put up another one that actually I think isn't brought up very often, but I really, really liked and isn't like I think really a typical A24 movie at all. And that's The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So this is another one that I kind of knew after the first minute or two of the minister's monologue at the beginning with the overtures and the beautiful yet sad scenery. And I live in Washington, D.C., which is home of gentrification. So a movie about that, which gentrification basically is moving all the poor people out so the rich people can have nice houses. And what happens with the poor people, we don't know. It doesn't really matter. So this movie kind of puts that right on the forefront. It's about a lack of a father and his son's relationship, his son believing a lie so hard that he's going to just ignore every bit of facts in front of his face. And I just really responded strongly to the themes of this. And I have a feeling this may be one that gets a no, maybe because it hasn't been seen, but I hope not. But if that's the case, you should probably go out and see this one. It's a really important and beautiful movie. The conclusion with the play, I don't want to say much more than that, but it's a really strong conclusion too.
Yeah, this is one that I meant to watch for this, but then life caught up for me and I just never ran out of time to watch it. So, Scott, what do you say about The Last Black Man in San Francisco?
Yeah, Aaron's hit a couple of my blind spots here, unfortunately. I missed this one too. I did really want to watch it last year. It's just, there were a lot of really good movies last year. I just haven't caught up with it. And so I'm afraid at this point in the list, I will have to say no, but I don't count out that if I watch it, and I hopefully will soon, that it would make my list. So
yeah, this is one where it's like too bad that it didn't get that Oscar push.
Yeah.
Because of that, no one's going to see it. And because Lady Bird got the Oscar push as a white girl from California, a pretty, story about struggling, going to college. And it's like, I get it, but it's like, it's a much more comfortable story for frankly a white audience to watch and witness and relate to or care about. The title itself, which my next movie I'm going to bring up, I also believe has been underseen because of the title. But this is a thing that I believe if this movie was called something else, it would have been seen more. But being called, it kind of, I think, made people uncomfortable also, or made people feel like, oh, I can't relate to this. I'm not going to see it.
Yeah, I don't discount that.
For me, like,
I'm not
this
judging.
movie-
I'm not saying that's why you guys didn't see it either. Just to be clear, like I'm just saying.
I know.
It's an interesting thing that I think titles have an effect on people's willingness to see a movie.
Oh, you know, I was just about to say
if Jojo Rabbit was called something else, I think it would have been underseen too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I was about to say it's like this was Last Black Man in San Francisco was actually never released in the cinemas in New Zealand. Like it only just recently came onto streaming.
Because of that, I wonder if that title had an impact on international. Because they probably could have changed it too, but still.
I mean, who knows?
You never know.
One of the,
it's interesting to think about, though. Sorry to cut you off.
It's all good. But anyway, I'm going to go to my next one, and my next movie is pretty Gucci. I'm talking about Eighth Grade, but yeah, this is one that, just like Lady Bird, this is one that I went in not knowing what to expect. I just thought it was good. Oh yeah, it's going to be another like teen comedy sort of thing. It's going to be nice and fluffy. It's probably not going to be a really high, but this ended up being one like up there with one of my favorite movies of this year, which I think was 2018. This was out, but I just think this was ultimately a great movie. Like the cast was great and everything. Scott, what do you say about Eighth Grade?
I say yes. I love Eighth Grade. This movie is as much as Lady Bird was relatable. I think this movie maybe even more so. The way that it captures the anxiety, a different type of anxiety from Uncut Gems, but still very anxiety inducing for people who were maybe not as socially adept growing up, like probably all of us were, I would venture to say. But I think that it's a very empathetic look at this character. And I think there's some real like suspense almost in the plot. Certain situations go differently than you think they're going to go. And so I like that aspect of it. I think it's an amazingly well-directed film from a debut filmmaker who is also a stand-up comedian in Bo Burnham. I think his vision is clearly in this movie, and some of the shot composition and stuff is really interesting in this movie in a way you may not get in other coming of age movies. So I love it. I think it's a really heartwarming film, which is not something that you can say about a lot of A24 movies. So maybe for that reason, it belongs on the list because it is a little bit more of an upper than some of these others we've talked about.
Aaron, what would you have said about Eighth Grade?
Yeah, I definitely would have said yes to this. I prefer this massively to Lady Bird in terms of coming to. So that's part of why I said no to Lady Bird, is I was trying to make sure there was room for Eighth Grade. Bo Burnham, I am a huge fan of all of his stand-up, and a huge fan of him as a movie maker. I want to see what he does next in whatever realm. And I think that, the performances are just, it's, again, like it's the A word, authentic. But it's just very authentic. To make there's two scenes I'll bring up in both for a reason. The pool scene and the back of the car scene, not creepy, with the subject matter that was being handled there. And it was handled very respectfully. And I think it was putting the movie out for a purpose, both those scenes. So I really appreciate that. And, the dad, who I forgot who the dad's played by, but
Josh Hamilton. Yeah, he's really good.
Josh Hamilton deserves to be a dad in like every movie until he decides to do something else. Like his name should be known. I'm surprised that he hasn't had more work. So yeah, I loved it.
And that makes Eighth Grade the 8th movie to make the list.
Very appropriate.
Scott, what is the next movie going to bring up?
Very Gucci. Okay. Well, I will try to offset Lady Bird a little bit and maybe some of the concerns that Aaron was raising with a movie that I think is very diverse and did get an Oscar push from A24, so much so that it actually won Best Picture. And that, of course, is Moonlight. This is not a film that I am like maybe admire as much as everyone else. Well, okay, admire is not the right word. I do admire it as much as everyone else. I don't think I like love it. It is necessarily not one of my favorites or that I return to as much as some of these others. Maybe I just don't connect with it quite in the same way that other yes, that is true, Joseph. That other people seem to, but this list I don't think would be complete without this movie, because to many people it is the top A24 movie. It is a Best Picture winner. I think it is awesome that a film like this, with all of the representation that's going on, in several different demographics. In this movie, I think for that reason alone, it belongs on the list, and it's a really beautifully composed film by Barry Jenkins. There are just some beautiful scenes and shots that definitely do stick out to me, even if the film as a whole is not, like I said, one that I revisit as much as the others. So I think Moonlight should be on this list.
Aaron, what do you say about Moonlight?
Yeah, I'll say yes to making my list. And maybe it's one I need to revisit again. I've only seen once. I saw it in the theaters, and I really liked it. It wasn't one I loved, and I saw If Beale Street Could Talk, and I really, really liked that.
Yeah, I did too.
That left more of an impression on me than Moonlight. So
same for me, but unfortunately, it's not A24. So
yeah, of course not. No, I
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I mean, I will say yes, although this leaves us with now 3 spots left, and so many movies have to make these 3 spots, which is really, really rough. And there's about 7 to 8 movies I'd put in front of Moonlight here.
You could say no.
I'm gonna say yes. I would like it on this list. I feel a list without Moonlight, or Moonlight not on this list, as much as I'm not somebody who likes to put movies that wouldn't be on my list when I'm making the decision. I do think this belongs on there. So yeah. Respectfully reluctant, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Moonlight for the first time this year. I think the movie is fine. Do I think it should have won Best Picture? I actually don't. I think La La Land should have stayed as the winner, personally. But I still would have said I still would have said yes. Like at the moment, it's still in my personal top 10 of A24. So if I said no, then it wouldn't be right of me. But yeah.
Yeah. I do kind of hate that, just as a side note, I do kind of hate that whole thing happened, because now I feel like everyone compares the 2 movies. It's like it's either Moonlight or La La Land. I really enjoy both movies. I kind of don't.
That perfectly segues me into my next pick. It's on me, right? And people do this Coke or Pepsi thing with this guy's 2 movies. They're both absolute classics, and they're not at all the same, so you don't need to choose. Ari Aster's Hereditary. I know you don't like it, Malcolm, but this is a horror masterpiece. It is a family psychological masterpiece. Toni Collette was robbed for the Oscar. Absolutely robbed for it. She didn't even get a nomination. She should have gotten it without even having to go through the nomination process. It was by far the best performance of that year. I appreciate the ending. I appreciate all the performances. I think that it weaves some humor in at some points where you aren't expecting it. It sticks with you. It's like an Insidious kind of movie the first time you see it. And yeah, Hereditary belongs on this list. Ari Aster is 2 for 2 with A24 here. So yeah, and Arrival would have been my pick for best.
Arrival would have been a great choice. Yeah.
And Haley.
Thank you, Haley. I appreciate you.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to come to no surprise to anyone that I'm going to say no to Hereditary. Like I've made my point clear with the time about Midsummer. I really don't like it. I mean, I agree that Toni Collette should have been nominated. I don't think she should have won, but
That's fine.
I think she does put up a good performance in the movie. But yeah, Scott, what do you say about Hereditary?
I'm really torn on this one because I do like the movie a lot. I think that it loses me in the third act. I think it just gets a little unwieldy with the plot maybe in the third act. And I do think Midsommar is better. We got Midsommar on the list. I agree that you don't have to pair the two against each other. I think that they're both individually great films, but I think we're getting down to the point where we only have 3 slots left. And I think for me, at least, there are a couple other horror movies that maybe belong on the list in place of another Ari Aster film. In particular, there's one director that we haven't mentioned that has 2 movies that, are pretty well regarded in terms of horror movies. So regrettably, if it had come up earlier, I probably would have said yes. Regrettably, at this point, I probably am going to have to say no. I hate to say no to another one of Aaron's picks, but I think we're getting down to the tough choices, and I'm going to nominate another horror movie now on my next turn around that we can maybe get on there because if we were doing 15 movies or something, this would definitely be on there for me.
God.
Sorry.
It's back to me, and I'm going to bring up one of my favorite ones. This is probably one of the only biopics A24 has done to my knowledge, and that's The Disaster Artist. I can't think if there is any more that spring out as a biopic that A24 has done, but Disaster Artist, it tells the story of how the room was created, which is something that I never really knew much about at all going into this, and just watching this movie see sort of unfold, it just was really interesting. Like James Franco as Tommy Wiseau was perfect casting. It's just showing how the terrible the room came about. It's just a really great movie. Scott, what do you say about The Disaster Artist?
I think I'm gonna have to be the grouch again. I think I'm gonna have to pass on this one. I do like the movie. I definitely do. But for me, it's just purely entertaining. And I think there are a lot of other A24 films that are a lot more inventive, that have a lot more to say than The Disaster Artist does. I also think the movie irons over some of the facts about Tommy Wiseau, and because he was kind of an awful person, honestly. The way that he treated everyone on the set of the movie was even worse than they portrayed in the movie. So I don't know if this movie, which is kind of celebrating, him getting the film made despite, all of its problems or whatever. I don't know if that sits a little strangely with me, even though I still do enjoy the movie. I think it has good performances. I think it has a lot of laughs. But I don't think it stands out among the A24 canon for me. So I'm going to say no to that one.
Aaron, what do you say about The Disaster Artist?
Yeah, this is definitely one I would put towards the bottom of my list of all A24 movies. So I didn't hate it because I only hate 3 A24 movies, honestly. But it didn't do anything. I finished it. I didn't get the why. I didn't really, and I've gone to room midnight shows since I was 18. I'm a huge fan of the movie and everything like that. It felt like everybody was doing a really good impression of who they were supposed to in the movie, and just movies like that, Bombshell, those kind of movies, they don't really do it for me. I don't know. I need more than just oh yeah, this is what it was like. So I'm gonna say no. We're down to 3. If Hereditary's not making it, Disaster.
Yeah.
I have a high ass bar now for these last 3. So yeah, no.
Anyway, Scott, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, I said I was going to do a horror movie. I've been jockeying back between 2. I think I'm going to go with The Witch because I think Robert Eggers, if Ari Aster and Robert Eggers are kind of the two guys when it comes to these A24 indie horror movies. We got Midsommar on there, and I think for me, if you're stacking up the two Robert Eggers movies against each other, I would prefer The Witch. I think it's a tighter film. It has a clearer focus on what it's trying to do. I think The Lighthouse was a little bit
I don't want to talk about it, Joseph.
Artsy for art's sake at times. But I think The Witch is really a very tight, very chilling, effective horror movie. I'm a big Anya Taylor-Joy fan. I think she gives a great performance. Black Phillip is a great villain, is a great horror villain. And I think the setting of like New England, like in the colonies and everything, is an interesting setting for a horror movie. And so I really like The Witch, and I think I think another horror movie belongs in the list, and for me, this is the one.
Aaron, what do you say about The Witch?
This is from the A24 store. If you know anything about the A24 store, it is not cheap. It's like, look at these photographs. So, I mean, this movie is beautiful. It is, if you want to call it like The Shining in New England, 18th century New England or whatever, you would not be wrong. And I don't think that's an insult at all. It's obviously a lot more than that it's just a really, really confident film debut. I can't really think of a more confident directorial debut than this in the last 20 years at least. Robert Eggers clearly started from the bottom with production design and worked his way all the way to the top. The perspective in this movie is really claustrophobic at some points, and at other points is so vast and enormous that you get lost in these trees that feel like with the score they're like yelling at you. It's just like really uncomfortable. It's unusual. The language is just perfect. If you see it with the wrong crowd at a theater like I did the first time, they're all going to be laughing in there. But like, it's literally how they spoke. I mean, it's just Anya Taylor-Joy began my obsession that will continue until the day one of us dies. So Anya Taylor-Joy to me is one of my favorite actresses out there. Everything she does, I love. And this movie is no exception. It does follow a similar theme with a lot of A24 where the ending, the third act, is probably the weakest portion of it. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it is kind of interesting how you can really say that for a lot of A24 movies. So, but for me, I like the ending. I thought it was consistent through the movie, and this is a definite yes, though. This is one of the best.
But yeah, this is like it's going to make the list regardless. But this is one I probably would have said no to because I think I've seen it once, but I just really don't remember nothing about this movie to be able to say yes to it. But yeah, Aaron, what is your next nomination?
All right, so we're at 10, so we're down to our final two spots. Okay, well, I'm going to get my other movie out of the way. It will be interesting. I don't know if this will make the list or not. I've really, really loved this movie. I got late to the party with it. And with Last Black Man in San Francisco, I mentioned how I believe the title prevented a lot of audience members from being willing to see it. This is another case, I believe, and it is 20th Century Women. This is a fantastic movie that I think a lot of men are refusing to see because it's called 20th Century Women. So they think, oh, what could I possibly learn from this? It's essentially it's a fantastic coming of age movie where there's a ton of powerhouse females in this young man's life. My father died at a very young age. I was raised by all women. So I have a strong affection for accurate portrayals of this type of upbringing, and this felt like the closest to home I've ever seen with it. And it's just amazing performances throughout it. Greta Gerwig is really, really good in it. If I'm thinking if I'm thinking correctly, and I can't think of her character's name, but she's really good in it. Annette Bening should have been nominated for an Oscar in that movie as well. Elle Fanning portrays a really realistic, kind of, sort of, not really relationship with the protagonist, which I think a lot of people have had when they've thought they've had maybe their first relationship or something. It's just turned out to not be that. It's really, really great. Mike Mills directed it and wrote it, and I have to imagine he was raised by women to have such an accurate kind of portrayal like this. So it's a really great movie. 20th century women, not brought up enough, and really good.
Yeah, this is one that keeps eluding me. Like it was added on to Netflix for me last year. It's like I'll get to it eventually. When I finally go around to going to watch it for a show, it was taken off. So I'm just waiting for it to come back on again. But until then, I haven't seen it. Scott, what do you say about 20th Century Woman?
I'm surprised that Aaron was unsure about whether this was going to make the list, because I guess you don't know that I love this movie. This is in my top 5 A24 movies. It is a personal favorite movie of mine. I have watched it as many times as any other A24 movie, probably. I think the writing in this movie is amazing. It did get nominated for an Oscar, actually, for the screenplay, I believe.
Yeah,
that's how good the writing is, that even though it was kind of an A24 movie, like Aaron was talking about earlier, they push certain movies for Oscars. This was not one that I think they really pushed for Oscars, because I think Annette Bening could have easily gotten in there for Best Actress if they had pushed it a little harder, because she is amazing in it. But the writing is so smart to me. Like every time I watch it, there are like so many lines that that just stick out of my head. Like what's the line about, like, do you ever feel like you're stuck? What do you mean? I don't know. I guess I wouldn't really know, would I? Like there's just so many little like moments like that that stick in my head. There's a really funny scene where he gets beat up by these kids after they have a discussion about sex, and there's some good humor that comes out of his interaction with Annette Bening after that. But yeah, this movie has a great sense of time and place. Again, amazing writing, great performances. It's an absolute gem that I think, if there's one underrated A24 movie that I would recommend for everyone to see, this is it, regardless of what your gender is.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Yeah, I was just trying to be dramatic. I knew this was going to make the list.
Okay, good.
And I'm glad it belongs on here. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Annette Bening fan, but I don't know if I don't think she's had a better performance than this. She's so great. I mean, it's such a good movie, and I just hope more people see it. I think it is still on Netflix over in the States too. So as of now. So
yeah, it has been for a while here, I know. So if you're watching and you're in the States, do watch the movie.
But yeah, it's on me, and I'm stuck between which one I want to nominate, because there's only one spot left. I've got 2 movies in mind that I think deserve to be on here. Both were nominated for Oscars. One of them was nominated for Best Picture, the other one wasn't. I'm going to go for the one that I literally watched just before I've came on stream today. It just literally finished. Ex Machina I watched for the first time today. And this is a science fiction movie. It's just one of those ones which it may seem really slow in times, but it's really entertaining. Just see like Domhnall Gleeson. I want to say it's Oscar Isaac and Alicia Vikander. Just all like doing stuff. Like not a lot really happens so much, but a lot happens at the same time. I just think it's a great movie, and it's one of those technical masterpieces which I think deserves to be on this list. Scott, what do you say about Ex Machina?
Oh man, I'm very torn, because this is the last slot on the list, and I was considering 3 movies that I think one of these should be in the last spot probably, and this was one of them. So Go to Aaron. I want to think about it a little bit more.
Aaron, what do you say about Ex Machina?
Oh boy. I mean, I hate to like kill the list because if I say yes here, it's over. Ex Machina had like I'm not sure what else could be the 12th movie here.
It's got to be
Yeah,
on the list, right? That's the
only
problem.
the only other one that it could be, I just will bring up now. So it's like, this is really a Sophie's choice. I'm picking between The Farewell and Ex Machina.
Those were two of the three that I had left.
So,
Yeah.
You could, and then the third would be The Lighthouse.
Well,
right?
I was going to say one of Trey Edward Schultz's movies, for me, either Waves or It Comes at Night. Like those, I was between those.
And I mean, again, I think, those are all good.
I think it's got to be.
If I'm making my pick for the last one, it's gonna have to be Ex Machina. So yeah, I am gonna say yes. Although The Farewell is number 13 for me. I think honestly, like as much as I love Trey Edward Schultz. I love all of his films. Krisha is actually my favorite, but I know that's no one else's. But like all three, he's 3 for 3 for me. But The Farewell for me is such an important movie and becomes more important as all of us have more and more family members we lose as we get older, dealing with kind of how families deal with death and mortality. And I just wanted to bring up The Farewell since we're not going to be picking it, because Ex Machina is a yes for me. The special effects on a very limited budget show you don't have to CGI everything to death in order to create truly magical effects, truly like incredible environments and everything like that. Donald Gleason plays a perfect role. I think maybe this movie's gotten a little lessened because of the Black Mirror of it all, with everybody being so exposed to Black Mirror stories and everything. This now seems a little basic or bare bones, but especially for when this came out, there weren't stories like this being told at all. And now they've become much more commonplace because of this movie. It's a very influential movie.
I mean, I think the other way of looking at it is it shows how far sort of A24 has come since it's come out, because this was really early on in A24. And like a lot of the other ones.
No one knew how to like say the title. I remember when this came out, they're like, "You going to see Ex Machina?" Like I remember that's what happened. Like it was like, no.
Yeah,
like, what is this, like an anime movie? Is this like no one knew what it was? It's 3 performances.
For me, it's disappointing that The Farewell doesn't make it on, but also I think if it means that we get like 20th Century Women and Under the Silver Lake, like some movies that less people are probably aware of than The Farewell. I think The Farewell is more in the public consciousness. It was one of the movies that A24 pushed for Oscars, even though it didn't ultimately get any nominations.
It does feel like The Farewell is always in this position where people are like, "Oh, we want to mention it, but we're not going to." So just like this list kind of where it's like, "Oh yeah, it's good, but we're not gonna like." It should have been nominated for an Oscar, it wasn't. But I do look up and down this list. I mean, it's like it would just be a personal choice. I've removed Lady Bird. That's the only one though. So everything else.
I mean, moral of the story. A24 has more than 12 really great movies, which is why Aaron and I are here, like because they're a great studio. And looking at the list, I haven't seen A Ghost Story, like I said. I'm personally not as huge of a fan of The Lobster, but I want it on there because it's Aaron's fave. And so there's not really anything I would take off either. So I think I will just say, go watch The Farewell. And even if it doesn't make the list.
Yeah. But for that, I know we've already talked about various honorable mentions. Scott, is there anything else you would have brought up?
Sure. So some of the ones which I kind of just passed over a little bit, even though they are close towards my favorites. The Spectacular Now is another coming of age movie, and that's why I didn't throw it out there, because I think with Lady Bird, with Eighth Grade, and even with 20th Century Women all making it in, I think we got our fill for coming of age movies. But I do really like the movie with Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. I think it's a really good coming of age romance. A movie that I would never have nominated because it probably doesn't belong in a best 12 A24 list, but that I personally love is Never Going Back, which is this kind of stoner comedy.
A24 does Thelma and Louise.
It's A24's Booksmart. It really is.
Booksmart.
If you like Booksmart, check it out because I think it is underrated and it has two really fun performances. It's in another fun like female friendship comedy. I think it has a rare, really good use of like gross out humor in it. Not a lot of movies can pull that off, but I think this movie pulls it off well. So Never Going Back is one. And then the last one, well, I mentioned the Trey Edward Schultz movies, but then the last one, While We're Young, which is a Noah Baumbach movie. I think it's the only one he did with A24, and I do like it quite a bit. But for me, his strongest works are probably outside of A24 with Frances Ha and Mistress America and Marriage Story. So I didn't throw that one out there for that reason.
Aaron, did you have any honorable mentions?
Oh yeah, I have quite a few. Enemy, I really loved Denis Villeneuve's Enemy. It was like very early A24 and one that I had to watch about 3 or 4 times before I even understood it, kind of, and I still don't quite get it, but I like it and I keep going back to it. I really Under the Skin, another early A24. Phenomenal score, phenomenal performance by Scarlett Johansson, and a really, really smart movie that I really, really enjoyed. And then Slow West, I think it's one that is not brought up very often, but is a really good modern Western. It's exciting. It's pretty quickly paced. Michael Fassbender and a few other really strong performances that I think people just don't really know or talk about it. And then last movie I would bring up is Lighthouse. Robert Eggers, I think, second masterpiece. There's just not enough room on the list, and seeing this in the theaters was, I think, definitely the place to see it. I felt like the ceiling was leaking. It was so gross and wet and nasty and just hilarious and obtuse and crazy. And I can't wait to see The Northman. I can't wait to see whatever Eggers does next.
The Northman's going to be amazing. The cast is stacked.
Yeah, I cannot wait. So.
But yeah, for me, for honorable mentions, like the other one I was tossing up, bringing up when I was thinking about Ex Machina was Room with Brie Larson. I think that's a good movie. Swiss Army Man, I think is very underrated. Like, and Mid-90s is another one that I probably was going to bring up too. But if that, we get to the fun part where we get to rate. So we write down on the whiteboard or a bit of paper, whatever there's got handy, movies that we think should be at number 12. I've already sort of got mine written down.
I probably should have.
Wait, so sorry, what are we writing down?
The name of the movie you think deserves to be you would put at number 12. Then we move up
Oh, okay. So we're ranking them. Got it. It's the name of the show. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be much of a mystery of what my 12 is.
Yeah, I think mine won't be either. But
which makes me wonder if we've got 3 different ones.
I'm going to make sure that I didn't miss any as much as possible. Yeah. That's fine.
Scott, what do you have for 12?
I had The Lobster.
Oh,
Aaron.
Lady Bird.
I do like it. Well, we're stabbing each other here on this.
Yeah,
one.
that's fine.
Yeah, I've got Moonlight.
Oh my God, nice.
So we're going to go to the chat if anyone is still
Vote Lady
there.
Haley, if you're still watching, vote Lady Bird.
Do you think Lady Bird, The Lobster, or Moonlight should be at 12?
If any of you love me, you won't vote Lobster.
The first comment I see will be the one that decides it. Otherwise, I will set up a wheel and spin the wheel for what's going to be 12.
Come on.
Anybody?
Joseph came through.
Yeah, The Lobster is going to be.
Oh my God. Oh.
It made the list, though. It is on the list.
That's fine. Yeah,
The
whatever.
poll will decide. The poll will decide.
That's fine. It's good. Good. It made the list.
But he does add sorry, Aaron, at the end of there, apologising about it.
I'm sure.
But Aaron, what do you have for 11?
It's obviously still Lady Bird.
Yeah, I've still got Moonlight. Scott.
I put a ghost story for this one, just because I haven't seen it. I mean,
So chat, Ghost Story, Moonlight, or Lady Bird for 11.
Joseph has a lot of power because I think he's like the only one left in the chat.
I mean, he's been the most active. He's been the most active in the chat.
He says it
But
goes.
I mean, we've got 5 people watching, so. I guess you could say that Joseph is our ghost decider.
He's our judge, yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a lame attempt at a joke for Ghost Story, but
Oh, right.
All right, so a few of my picks. Cool.
but yeah, I've still got Moonlight for 10. Scott, what do you have for 10?
I'm actually going to nominate one of my own picks for 10, and that's The Witch.
And Aaron's still got Lady Bird.
They're really good movies at this point.
Lady Bird.
So we got Lady Bird, Moonlight, and The Witch. Joseph, what do you want for 10?
Oh, well, there you go. You won, Aaron.
God. Good Lord. Let's get this show on the road. All right, I get to pick a new movie.
Yep.
All right.
I'm actually going to change mine, so.
Let's see. So number 9.
I mean, I love the fact that I was every time the votes come in, I'm about to start putting in the tabs on the reel. But yeah, I've still got Moonlight.
Yeah, I'm actually put Moonlight as well. I do enjoy The Witch a little bit more in thinking about it, so I will change my vote there.
Aaron, what do you have?
A secret there. No reason to reveal it. So okay, yeah, Moonlight works. I don't want to tip the scales in any vote's favor, just in case.
I mean, it's like as I said, like I like it. It's just it's the out of the ones that made the list, it was the lowest on there. So
top 10 in A24 is a high honor.
I'm actually not going to do The Witch for this next one either.
Let's see. This one I'm going to stick with.
And I mean, those that know me know that I don't vote the ones I've seen, unless it gets to a point where I have to.
Yeah.
But Aaron, what do you have for 8?
Maybe a surprise. Uncut Gems.
I've got Ex Machina.
I also have Ex Machina. There are some people out here who are going to call us crazy for this list for having Ex Machina, Moonlight, and Lady Bird all in like the bottom 4 or third
Not
of
even
the list or whatever.
I mean,
not having Under the Skin nominated. I can already hear Paul crying.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there's some people that may think us crazy, but some people, like Cody, will be glad that Lady Bird doesn't higher ranks.
That is true.
That's always my goal, is to make Cody happy. I do a great job at that.
Yeah. The sole purpose for our existence. Stay tuned in a couple of weeks for best 2010s movie.
Beat his ass in fantasy football this weekend, though. So that's good.
Stay tuned for best 2010s movie scenes in a couple of weeks, where I think I will make Cody angry.
But Scott, what do you have for
I have The Witch.
Aaron?
Uncut Gems, number 7.
I put 8th grade.
Joseph.
But Joseph, The Witch, 8th grade, or Uncut Gems?
What do I think Joseph will vote here? I think who will vote?
I mean,
I think I'll vote The Witch because I feel like we have very dissimilar interests.
I was going to say I think he'll vote Uncut
although
Gems.
apparently we got in something that was in his top 3.
Ex Machina, I'm guessing, yeah.
But yeah.
We voting out The Witch?
But I will get the real prep while we're waiting for Joseph.
It's unfair to put so much pressure on the man, to be honest.
Yeah, so 8th grade, The Witch, and Uncut Gems.
He says that he hasn't seen Uncut Gems, but of the other two, 8th grade he likes less than The Witch. So I think it's going to be 8th grade.
Going?
I mean, yeah, I'll probably take that 8th grade. I mean, unless he wants to put Uncut Gems there because he hasn't seen it, but.
Yeah.
All right. So we're up to 6 now. All right.
Yep.
Oh,
Just to recap what's left, we've got A Florida Project, Midsummer, Uncut Gems, Under the Silver Lake, and 20th Century Woman.
all right.
We got to start agreeing on some of these so it doesn't turn into like Joseph's list.
That is true.
But Scott, what do you have?
The Witch.
Aaron?
I have the screenplay for The Witch. I'm not going to agree there. No, Florida Project.
It's a great movie. I nominated it.
We actually agree because I Florida Project just
All right.
No.
it's just because I haven't seen it. Like
A
looking
solid
at,
number 6. That's like very good. Florida Project couldn't hope for better. than
Sean
that.
Baker, if you're watching, it's number 1 in my heart.
Yeah, well, it's number 6 in my heart.
it's what if this ranking was on Letterboxd, he'll probably give it a net half a star.
Yeah, he gave his own movie 1 star. All right, let's try again.
Not picking The Witch, so unless Malcolm picks it, it's not making. It's making beyond the top 5, top 3.
At this point, I think I know what number 1 is going to be, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it will. That will be number 1. It's about for the last few spots.
Aaron, what do you have for 5?
I'm going back to Uncut Gems.
Scott, what do you have?
The Witch.
The Witch.
It made the top 5.
I know. It's so.
Yeah, no, it's more of a case like I'm saying get rid of the ones I haven't seen because the 3 of the ones that are left are my top 3, so I'm not going to put them. I'm not going to attempt to get them any lower than they need to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so remind me what we have left. We have Under the Silver Lake, we have Midsommar, we have Uncut
20th Century
Gems,
Women.
and 20th Century.
Yep.
This is really tough. These are all like god tier for me.
Yep. You know, if anybody puts Uncut Gems, it's going. So it's tough to put it. I understand. Obviously, Uncut Gems.
Do I put it though? I mean, it's one of the ones in between, but
Scott, what do you have?
I put Under the Silver Lake.
Wow.
I've got 20th Century Woman.
Oh no. Oh, don't do it.
So
Don't
Joseph,
pick 20th Century Women.
20th Century Woman, Uncut Gems, or Under the Silver Lake.
You know what? Can I change my vote to Uncut Gems to make that number 4?
You can if you want.
All right, I will, because it was between the two for me, so I think that makes it easier.
Yeah,
so.
good choice.
Uncut Gems.
Oh man, now this is hard.
Which means 20th Century Woman, Under the Silver Lake, and Midsommar.
I just want to say I can't believe these are the 3 that we've ended up with, but I'm very happy about it.
Great. All right, this hurts no matter what I choose here.
But Scott, what do you have for 3?
The dog killer is coming for us. Under the Silver Lake.
Aaron?
Yeah, Under the Silver Lake.
I stuck with 20th Century Woman.
No.
So Under the Silver Lake is going to be 3.
Oh, is it number 1 though? Can we make it number 1? That would be so great. Oh man, you know what?
I don't think I can make it number 1.
Well, I mean, it's definitely one of those ones that
man, okay.
that both the movies that are number 2, like with the exception of 20th Century Woman, because obviously I've been trying to just because I didn't see it, but like no one's mentioned it until now.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to go for our number number 1s because the other one becomes number 2 by default. So
yeah, and I think by getting it to number 2, we have done our job of raising awareness of this film. So 20th Century Women.
Yeah, it's right. I thought we were putting our number 1 down, so I wrote Midsommar, but
yeah, that's what I was about to say. We're writing down a number 1.
My bad.
The other,
Midsommar is my number 1.
Midsommar's my number 1 anyway, so it wasn't going to matter either way.
Sure.
I'm fine with that. I like this.
It's my number 2 after Florida Project, so like we got it there.
And well, that's better than my number 1 that ended up 12.
That made the list.
Yeah, thank God. Otherwise, I'd still be talking about it. And so like, can you believe that? Yeah, I remember leaving the Lobster as a. Oh man, I'd never seen anything like it.
But just
a Facebook memory stats that comes up every year at the release of it. That's like, go see the Lobster. It's unlike any film you'll ever see in your life. I was like 20 or something.
But just to recap our top 12 A24 movies. At 12, we've got The Lobster. At 11, we've got A Ghost Story. At 10, we got Lady Bird. At 9, we got Moonlight. At 8, we got Ex Machina. At 7, we got 8th Grade. At 6, we got The Florida Project. At 5, we got The Witch. At 4, we got Uncut Gems. At 3, we got Under the Silver Lake. 2 is 20th Century Woman. And 1, we got Midsommar. I mean, all in all, I think this is a fun list. I'll have the poll up in a bit after this with the topics I'm going to put on for next week. But Scott, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can follow me at Scarvy Dent on Twitter. My handle's right there on Twitter or Letterboxd. Also, check out Some Like It Scott wherever you get your podcasts. We have our regular weekly movie podcast, and we also have our Fincher countdown series that we're doing right now. And Panic Room is coming out tomorrow, I believe. So check out our podcast there. We also just talked about I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which this guy also talked about the other night.
Indeed. Not with Scott, but yeah.
No, but I watched it. It was very helpful to me because I have been processing a lot since watching the movie.
Oh, great. Yeah. Are you done with your plugs?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Aaron J.Y. Brooks on Twitter. I host MMA podcast, so Fight Bananas. Look it up on YouTube if you want to check that out. We're doing interviews and whatnot, breakdowns, and then also I had a discussion with Video Drew Lon Harris and Sabrina Ramirez on the movie I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So if you search on Video Drew's channel, it was the five of us or four of us, and then Nerd Chronic Eric also joined in, and it was like a 2.5 hour discussion on a 2.5 hour movie. So I highly recommend I'm Thinking of Ending Things on Netflix as well, as long as you're in an emotionally good spot. But yeah, that's basically it. And then I'm always over on feature presentation productions, doing fantasy film fights, doing Now Showing, which will be back this Tuesday, our final show, 2017 to 2020. So the show that started June 15th for my birthday is finally over September 15th or something. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I was about to make the joke. Is like it feels like it's just been gone. Your birthday's just been happening for a long time, but
I mean, it's not even June yet, right? So yeah, we're good.
But anyway, you can find me over on Full Metal. I host Full Metal Classics on Sunday. I host Full Metal Random on it's normally Tuesday, but it's Wednesday this week, and it's a Gargoyles match between Alan Shepard and Eli McKeag, talking about the TV show Gargoyles. And you can find me hosting Late Night Take 3. It will be back this week. The topic is going to be Kevin Smith movies. And I host Rankum on Saturdays, and the topic will be whatever wins the poll that I will put up in a bit. But until next time, keep listening shit.